Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, my audio is coming in clear. My name is Frank Lavinia. You can find me at franksworld.com, impactquantum.com, and of course, datadriven.tv. So, a couple of interesting things have happened over the last, a lot of interesting things are going on in the financial markets, but probably the one that's most relevant to quantum computing is the fact that IonQ is the first company to go public. First quantum computing company to go public. So let me swap this out, maybe put myself small in the corner, and we can take a look here. So basically, if you do a search for IonQ, they went public on Monday, October 1st. And I think that this is look at this, right? They went public through a SPAC. And I think no, okay, I don't know what happened there. There we go. They went, which is probably a quantum computer company going public via a SPAC. It's probably the most 2021 title for an article, for a financial article that you can imagine. So ultimately, I think that what's intriguing here is that this is real. Now, will this be the Netscape moment? When I say Netscape moment, you may not be old enough to remember, but in 1995, the internet was still very much, still very new in the sense of the web, more specifically. But what really kind of moved the needle, at least from my perception, wasn't any big jump in technology. It was the fact that Netscape, which again, kids, if you don't know what that is, you may have to look it up on Wikipedia, but ultimately it was August of 1995 where Netscape went public, and it basically started a gold rush of sorts on the internet, the original .com boom. And only time will tell whether this IonQ will be that kind of that spark of a gold rush moment. Only time will tell. But certainly, you have to have these spark moments for that to happen. Very interesting. What's fascinating, if you go here, you'll see all these stories about it and things like that. What's fascinating to me is that this isn't headquartered in the normal place you would think it would be. It's actually headquartered in Vegas. It's not in. It's not here. It's not in the usual suspects, right? It's not in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's not in Silicon Valley. It's not even in Seattle. I find that interesting. And full disclosure here, as someone who lives in Maryland, technically they're based in College Park, Maryland. Isn't that interesting? So I think there's definitely, keep an eye on this. DMY. I kind of wish that was DMV Technology Group. For those who don't know, DMV is the local slang for District, Maryland, and Virginia, kind of the DC metro region. Kind of sort of up to Baltimore, kind of sort of, but not really down to almost Richmond. But I find this is interesting. And you'll see a lot of stories about this, about quantum computing hitting the stock market. While we're talking about quantum computing, and I know it's a bit of a heady topic for a Monday, head on over to impactquantum.com. Some interesting stories here. One, kind of a discussion of the different types of quantum hardware and their characteristics, some of their strengths and some of their weaknesses. There's also a pretty good video here about quantum computing on the desktop. And while that sounds very far-fetched, maybe it's not. Without cryo cooling, these things could get a lot smaller. And speaking of Impact Quantum, it is a podcast. You can listen on Spotify. You can listen on Apple Podcasts. You'll see that we have some very great episodes of late. This is season 2, where we have guests. We've had Dr. Mark Jackson. talk about quantum computing. There's actually 2 episodes in the queue now for recording with actual guests, actual experts in this field. You'll have to wait and see who they're going to be. But we also, the most recent episode is with Brian Lenihan, who wrote a book called Quantum Boost. Highly recommend you pick that one up. Yes, Andy, how's it going, Andy? I'm streaming from a slightly different setup today, so like all over the place. Yes, if you go to these last 2 episodes with, oh, hey, wait a minute. I'm not showing the whole thing. There we go. I'm not as important in this story as I'd like to think I am. So basically, these 2 episodes are really good. This is more of a technical one. Dr. Mark Jackson is a quantum evangelist, which is probably the coolest title I've ever heard, for Cambridge Quantum Computing, a company that was basically started on the suggestion of Dr. Stephen Hawking. No joke. Go listen to the episode. Check it out. We talk about the different types of qubits and things like that, and but it was really in this episode where we get into quantum inspired computing and kind of the business value here, right? So highly recommend it. Obviously, I'm biased because I think and I'm proud of the podcast Andy and I both do, but definitely check these out if you're still quantum skeptical. Let's see what else. So in terms of what's going on here, new episode of Data Driven with Christopher P. Willis on using artificial intelligence to create a better user experience with better content, which is a mouthful to say, is that if your content is lousy, your customer experience is going to be lousy. And if you think that's far-fetched, think back to any time you've had to install something or build something and the instruction manual was written in such a way you just couldn't make sense of it. So it's kind of like that, but I think a little more depth. But what was interesting here is they use AI to make suggestions, but they don't. Here's the key. It's still human that does the judgment. So letting the actuators be the humans. And here's a really good video on kind of, if you're curious about what Cosmos DB is, and you want to know more about it, Mustafa Branch, who's a new name to the Cosmos DB channel. He does an explanation of what is Azure Cosmos DB and why should you care. Now, might have been the last stream I was on. I kind of hinted. There we go. I gotta move this anyway so I can unplug everything. There we go. Come on. So this is a Raspberry Pi, and let me maximize myself. There we go. This is a Raspberry Pi. I can't say quite what it does right now, but basically I have it hooked up to an antenna. Well, not now, and hopefully I'll be able to share some of that soon. But I will say it's pulling data out of the air and processing it here and then pushing it up to a cloud service. So I'm very excited to talk about that. But I've had some fun. I actually had to stick the antenna out the window, which I'm sure, well, my nearest neighbor on that side of the house is like a quarter mile away. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But I do have antenna mounting equipment. So who knows? Will this be a permanent installation here at Chateau Lavinia? Who knows? That's to be determined. But I definitely had some fun messing around with Raspberry Pi. I have a couple of these back from my Civic Tech Evangelist days when we were kind of doing these rapid prototype projects and kind of teaching kids how to code and stuff like that. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Raspberry Pi has gotten very powerful. In fact, you can arguably make it a desktop replacement. Yes, and Andy's doing some amazing things on Raspberry Pi. I actually reshared that stream. If you want to hop on, Andy, on the live stream, that's cool. Let me know. I will send you the link. But because I'm on this computer, it has to be on Teams. So let me know, and then I'll set up my headphones so I'll be able to take on a guest. But these things are amazing. If you think about the processing power inside of these things, I mean, this would have been a powerful desktop maybe 15 years ago. But now it's basically the size of a credit card. In fact, most of the heft in this is the case. And I think that this could easily be a desktop replacement. Now, whether you want to run Windows or not, this video here kind of shows using the Chromium OS how he. I'm doing a fine job. Thank you, sir. We should do a joint stream again soon. But what's fascinating about this is the operating systems on this. So on this one here, I have Raspbian Pi, and I mean, for the most part, I could use that as like a browsing station or whatever. It's just fascinating what's possible with this. So, and it plugs in, has HDMI, so you can plug it in. It's just, I think that the dawn of the Raspberry Pi. Yes, we should stream. Yes, we should stream. The dawn of the Raspberry Pi, I think, is still very much upon us. I don't think people really appreciate the art of the possible with these little devices. I think that, on one hand, it's still relegated to kind of the hobbyist. But I mean, if you look at kind of what's being done now with this, or electronic hobbyist is probably what I'm looking to say. But it's totally within the realm of possibility that these can be just cheap desktop replacements. And I'm not going to render a video or an After Effects or any kind of heavy thing. But if I'm just checking mail, I'm just writing documents. I mean, this could be the answer. And hey, I got a commenter, which has been just dutifully noted as LinkedIn user. So this is just I don't think it's a 3D printed case. It's just a plastic case. I don't know what brand. They shipped this to me, they being Coverse. How's that for subtle product placement? Oh, cool. Viewers can learn more of what Stevie Ray, that's Andy's son, are doing with his new blog, Stephen Ray Leonard. That's cool, man. That's cool. You should use Dingo to help make your podcast go. Not your podcast, but your posting go easier. Dingo is an internal tool I built, and he's working on it as well. And if you would like to find out more, I might do like a limited beta program for technical bloggers, because here's basically by the numbers. Obviously, I've always been a prolific blogger, and I've written a number of tools. But what's really empowered me has been since the creation of Dingo towards the end of July and all through August. I had 161 blog posts in August. And 2 weeks of that I spent on vacation, actually kind of 3 weeks. The fourth week in August, I started a new job. Coverse, once again. LinkedIn user is Sarah. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? Hope you're well. We should totally get you scheduled on and or live stream. I actually have something come up at noon, so today may not be a good time. And I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but I'll reach out to you on that. So honestly, Sarah, I don't know exactly what case this is. Oh, wait. It's called CanaKit. And that makes sense because all the other stuff here was branded CanaKit. All the stuff that they sent was branded CanaKit. Which there's no PII here, but this is a Raspberry Pi 4 starter kit, 32 gigs of RAM, premium black case. 8 gigs of RAM, 32 gig EVO plus. Interesting. 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, this would have been a serious desktop not that long ago. I mean, maybe a long time ago. But with that in mind, yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff. I actually had this hook up to the monitor that's just over there. And really excited to kind of share kind of what this is going to be. Just got to make sure I get permission to do so. Yeah, I think Raspberry Pi is. I think it's really underappreciated, and I think when you look at kind of the chip shortage that's going on, it's not going to solve all the problems. But if you just need a simple kind of way you can check your email, way you can do kind of basic web browsing and stuff like that. I think that's the way to go. I mean, it's somewhere around $35, $45. Can't beat that. Obviously, you need a keyboard and external monitor, but you know. I wonder when someone will build a laptop based around this, where you just basically get the laptop frame and you just drop one of these in, and you have kind of a thing with the battery and stuff like that. That sounds like a cool maker project. So I'm assuming this is also Sarah. Okay, this is Sarah. Have I played with TinyML on Pi? No. And one of my great regrets, well, one of many, is I did not spend as much time as I should on kind of these little breadboard, the breadboards and stuff like that. I built Frosty the Snowbot when I was doing Civic Tech, and I built that originally as a prototype for the city of Boston. And what Frosty the Snowbot was it was a device, basically Raspberry Pi powered, that would essentially connect an electronic scale, and you would deploy these all over the city. And that way, when it snowed, like we're supposed to get a really bad winter, when it snowed, you would get a rough estimate of what the load on the roof was based on some sampling criteria. Now, fun fact, the solar generator I often talk about on these live streams and in YouTube was actually built for that project. And I bought the solar panels. It was the company that paid for the battery, but my first last day at Microsoft, that sounds weird, in 2016, I was like, you want this car battery? And they're like, nah, you can keep it. So I actually have it out there, and I have it charging up my backup batteries. I have my super batteries that I take on long road trips and things like that. And I've built it with that. But no, I have not played with TinyML. Perhaps, Sarah, you can educate me. You can come on the show. You can talk about TinyML. Because I'm curious. I mean, with this type of computing power, obviously this can be kind of run the models. I don't think without any problem. But could you do training or neural network training on one of these? I mean, I imagine you could, but would it be a good idea? That'd be cool, Sarah. I'll ping you on LinkedIn messaging, and we can schedule something, because I have a couple of these. I don't have. I have like one. I have this 4, and I have another 4. I think this is a Model B. Doesn't say. But I do have a couple of 3s, Raspberry Pi 3s, and maybe like 3 Arduinos that I'd love to play around with. Interesting. You haven't played with it yet. All right, so I feel better. I feel like a slacker because there's just so much going on. And actually, if you've been watching, hopefully you all have been watching. I've got one of these now. I got one of these. I got an Oculus Quest, and I've been having a lot of fun exploring with this, and very, very intriguing technology. Actually, here's another thing I've been playing around with, and I think so. Let's see, deck.gl. I can't show the demo I'm building. I don't have permission to do that. But if I were to go here, no, I totally get it, Sarah. My list of things to explore is very, very long list of things to explore. All right, so this is deck.gl, and this fascinated me because I'm working on the demo with it, which I have not touched client software development since the age of Windows Phone and UWP. And for reasons I won't expound upon here, I just refuse to do, I just refuse to write another line of XAML, just on principle. Nothing against technology, it's just about the drama around said technology. So, I got a comment. What's the comment? Stevie writes, Stevie used an Arduino Pro Mini for the instruments. We also picked up some Raspberry Pi Picos. And so I need to figure out what the difference between a Pico is versus a Raspberry Pi Zero. Because I have like 3 of those, because there was in Micro Center, there was a like a magazine. You buy the magazine, and it came with a free Raspberry Pi Zero. So there's definitely a lot of action in this space that I haven't played with. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, Andy, you have a Jetson Nano in your house, right? Which is the NVIDIA single board computer. All of these things are kind of called, I think, SBCs or single board computers, where they're just literally a computer on a single board. So with that, let's check this out. So this is pretty cool. So this is, you know how folks are. I love graphics and things like that. But what's really cool about this is that this is a data visualization tool called JekGL. And the GL stands for WebGL. So all of this rendering that you're seeing here of all of this data is done inside of the GPU. So if I go, let me find another one. Scene grid layer. Here we go. So this shows Uber pickup locations. But all these data point rendering. Somewhere in here, there's actually a there we go. So you can kind of see how that is. You can do all this sorts of manipulation. I am looking. Here we go. This is the one I want to see. So this is yellow cab versus green cab trips in Manhattan. And what's cool about this is that this is basically taking that data set and visualizing it in such a way that makes the data come alive. And I'm just fascinated by this. So, and it comes with all these types of integrations with Google Maps, Mapbox, ArcGIS. I imagine there's probably an integration with Bing Maps as well. But this is cool. I mean, check this out. This is I don't know if this is a real time or whatever, but this is basically pulling in data from all of these places, Twitter, and it's showing it on the map. This one doesn't let me pan around like the other ones do. It's just very fascinating. You can get terrain maps. It's just all in browser, all in JavaScript or some form of React. Definitely check it out. I've had a lot of fun with it. What's this? Brushing extension. There you go. So you can mouse over an area. You can see where people are moving to and from. Whoops. Let's see. Where are people leaving New York to? Like all over the place. Interesting. Let's go somewhere more sparsely populated. Interesting. It's just a fascinating thing, and this is all done in a GPU. What other? There's a really cool one where they show all the active flights in, maybe it's ArcLayer. You see all, oh, that's kind of the same thing. Dig around. There's a demo in here. Oh, I'm not showing it. Here we go. So road safety, personal injury accidents. You see, I can concur, man. Driving in London is a bit intense. But you'll see that's where it is. Scatter plot layer, all these different types of layers. Every person in New York City, each style represents 10 people. Interesting. So you see the more densely parts of the city. I'll have to find, there is a demo where you can actually see all the active flights in the world, and it actually renders it pretty well. It takes a minute or two for it to load all the data, but it does a pretty good job. And with that, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Andy. Let me know if this earlier time of streaming works better for you all. And with that, I'm going to play some fancy graphics to end the stream.